Hello ladies and gentlemen, Stephen here from Redolescence, and thank you so much for watching, and welcome to the world's cheapest Tom Ford private blend collection. I want to thank you for watching my video, and I got the idea to do this video after watching a video from a fellow YouTube fragrance reviewer by the name of Coach Rob. I have a ton of respect for this reviewer. I've left his link to his channel in the description section below. Please make sure you give him a shot. Check out his videos. If you like him, please subscribe to his content. So I got the idea to do this video when I watched him do the world's cheapest Creed collection. Now, we all know that Creed is a very expensive brand. Their 4-ounce flasks retail for well over $300. So, you know, we don't all necessarily have the funds to be able to purchase full bottles of Creed fragrances. So in his video, he gave some less expensive alternatives to these very expensive Creed fragrances. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but with Tom Ford Private Blends. And what I can say right now is that Tom Ford Private Blends is one of my favorite lines ever. And the reason for that is because they cater to a bunch of different, fragrance styles and a lot of different customers and individuals. If you want a floral scent, they have, Oud Fleur, Fleur de Chine, Plum Japonais. If you want something darker, richer, more resinous, you have Tobacco Oud, Amber Absolute. If you want something a little bit more traditional and classic, you have Tobacco Vanille, Tuscan Leather. The list goes on and on. So their variety is impeccable. Now, I don't want anyone to think that these are going to be 100% identical to the Tom Ford Private Blends. I think ultimately, if you love the smell of the Tom Ford Private Blend and you don't want to settle for anything less, I think it's probably going to be worth it for you to save up the money and purchase the Tom Ford. But if you don't mind wearing a less expensive alternative that is not going to give you the same exact smell, but is going to give you a similar vibe, and it will satisfy those same situations, same scenarios just as well, then I think this list might be for you. So I hope you enjoy this list. I hope you like the recommendations that I have for you. And I'm going to leave a link to all of the recommendations that I make down below. So feel free to conduct your own research, check it out, see if you can get a better price for it online. And I want to thank you once again for watching the video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into the list. And I want to start off with a Tom Ford that I don't have the bottle of. Now, I really do like this Tom Ford, and a lot of people say it smells similar to a discontinued Tom Ford called Amber Absolute. Now, I happen to have a sample from Lucky Scent that was sent to me in the mail, and this one, I know you can't read the label, but it's Tobacco Oud by Tom Ford. And for this fragrance, there is a less expensive alternative, I think. It doesn't smell exactly the same, but I think it gets the job done. It also has oud and vanilla and a sweetness to it, kind of like a dried fruit appeal, but it also has those ambery resins in the dry down. And this one is by Raghba, and it's called Wood Intense. The performance is also stellar. This is an eau de parfum. It gives you a similar vibe if you're looking for a fragrance to wear on a night out, perhaps something to wear in a shirt and tie or suit and tie. I think that this is a perfect alternative to Tobacco Oud. Please make sure you give it a shot. I think it's a very close comparison. The next one that I want to talk about is the only other one that I don't have the bottle of, and this is one of their most recent releases, and this one is from the Neroli Portofino line, and it's called Costa Azzurra. Now, I have an official Tom Ford sample. I actually have a couple of these, and I think that this is a really nice, fresh, salty marine aquatic fragrance. But the moment that I smelled this one, I was immediately reminded of another fragrance that I've had for many years now, and the similarities between the two absolutely stunned me. This one reminds me a lot of a Calvin Klein fragrance, believe it or not, and it's called Crave. Now, I challenge you to make the comparison on your own. There's certainly something between these two that smells remarkably similar. Now, this also has kind of like a star fruit, fresh, marine, salty, aquatic vibe to it, as does this fragrance. Now, I think this one contains driftwood, which makes it a little bit more unique. Of course, I think Tom Ford's, most of them are worth the price tag despite their projection, versatility, or lack thereof. And this is one of the few fragrances that doesn't last a very long time. So I think you'll actually get better performance out of the Calvin Klein, despite the fact that this is a weaker concentration. So if you have not made the comparison, I urge you, give it a shot. You might actually be impressed with what you'll get from the Calvin Klein. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is a very popular one called Oud Wood. And this happens to be one of my favorites. I also have the soap for Oud Wood. I love the way that it smells. It's mature, it's masculine, it's sophisticated, it's classy, it's refined, it has the resins, it has the oud note. Now, there's another one that you're still going to be able to find online, and it has a similar vibe to it. It's not 100% identical, but I think it satisfies the same scenarios, and it's by Yves Saint Laurent, and it's called M7. This is also mature and sophisticated and manly and grown up. I think this is a close cousin to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. Not only that, but when this fragrance was released, the creative director for Yves Saint Laurent was Tom Ford. And I think that's a little bit more than just a coincidence, so make sure you give this one a try. The next one that I wish to talk about is Neroli Portofino. Now, I think a lot of us who have smelled Neroli Portofino, even though we might not be a huge fan of the performance, we love the smell. You have the bright, sparkling, effervescent neroli. You have the African orange flower, which gives that little bit of sweetness to the composition. And then you have some other intriguing elements in the background. This is a great fragrance, perfect for the spring and summer. And everybody loves it that I've come across. You know, they love the way that it smells. Well, a lesser expensive alternative is 4711 by Maurer Wirtz. They even have the same exact colors, blue and gold. Now, of course, the longevity on this one, I hate to say, is even worse than Neroli Portofino, but the smell that you get is almost 100% the same. This is the traditional original Eau de Cologne, which was developed, or I guess created in Cologne, Germany, and this is a great fragrance, very bright and sparkling. You have a similar neroli note, if not the same neroli note. I highly recommend you give this one a try, and it's so cheap, in fact, that you can carry it with you and spray it several times throughout the day to refresh yourself. And that's often what I end up doing when I do wear this one. Sometimes I might even put this one on as a base, and I'll spray Neroli Portofino on top of it. Now, the next fragrance that I want to talk about is another citrus-dominant fragrance, and it's called Azure Lime. Now, Azure Lime is great. It has a very bright, natural smelling, a very fresh, sparkling lime note in the introduction, and I think that really allows it to stand out. It has some floral nuances, some woodsy nuances, and it also has somewhat of a mature vibe. Now, when I think of this fragrance, I also think of other classic masculine fragrances that would go well with it. And the recommendation that I would make, if you don't want to shell out the $215 for a 50 ml bottle, is Homme by Guerlain. And I think that this is a similar fragrance in the sense that it also has some woodsy nuance. It also has a dominant lime overtone that kind of gives the whole fragrance a mojito vibe. And even though these two do not smell 100% identical, I think they smell like 75 to 80% similar. And I think that that's a close enough comparison for me. If you're looking for a citrus fragrance that you can wear formally, look no further than Guerlain Homme. I think that this is a great alternative, although not a substitution and not a replacement. I do find it to be a great alternative. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is probably my favorite from the Neroli Portofino line, and it's a fragrance with which I've gotten the most compliments. My fiance loves it, and it's called Mandarino di Amalfi. Now, this is a very unique fragrance, not just because the mandarin orange smells superb, but also because it contains a note of shiso. And shiso is a very unusual ingredient found in East Asian cooking and is closely related to the basil family. Now, I have not been able to find another designer fragrance that does quite what this fragrance does, but what I will say is that there's a similar fragrance on the designer market that's inexpensive, that also has a really nice mandarin note, and I would say it's probably about 50 to 60% similar to this one. It's, of course, very different, but it fulfills the same occasions. And the fragrance is called Clinique Happy for Men. If you're looking for a designer that you can wear that bears some similarities to Mandarino di Amalfi, it actually lasts longer than Mandarino di Amalfi, this is a great scent. Make sure you try it out. And I get a lot of compliments with it as well. The next fragrance that I wish to talk about is, of course, the iconic, the stunning, the playboy of a fragrance, Tuscan Leather. Now, Tuscan Leather is a really nice, refined leather note. It kind of smells like a very well, high quality, high manufactured leather note. It has a beautiful smell to it. I mean, some people argue it's probably the best leather on the market. Well, there are a lot of fragrances out there that utilize that same aroma molecule that gives off that leather smell. And the most expensive of which I don't have in my collection is a fragrance by Rasasi called Yuqawam. And you can have that fragrance for about $60, $50 to $60. So I'm going to leave a link for it in the description down below. But two fragrances I have in my collection that are also on the inexpensive side and definitely half the price of this. First one is Oud Leather by Montale. This one gives you a very similar scent, maybe more of an emphasis on the note of oud, which I personally do not mind. And the other one is by Dueto Parfums, and it's called Golden Boy. This one is in the $130 range, and this is of course $215, and this is a 100 milliliter bottle. Same with, I believe, Yuqawam. So of course for half the price you get twice the amount. It's a no-brainer. But I will say Tuscan Leather does have that berry note that I actually really like. And if you like the berry note, check out Blood Concepts O. There's a fragrance called Blood Concepts O. You have the berry note minus the leather note. The other fragrance that I would like to talk about, man, this is one that gets a lot of praise. This is Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. Now, it's really hard to find an alternative for Noir de Noir, but I believe I found one for you guys. This is a really nice chocolatey, saffron, spicy, resinous, vanilla, amber, patchouli, oud kind of a scent. And it's a very romantic scent featuring the dominant note of rose. Now, the one that I have in my collection that smells similar to it is a fragrance that doesn't smell exactly like it. So I just have to put that out there. It's a fragrance by Prada, and the fragrance is called Prada Amber. Now this is similar in the sense that it also has the resins and the vanilla and the patchouli and a bit of a floral smell. I find this one to be a little bit more feminine, but when you look online, people compare the intense version to Noir de Noir. But I also find that this is very similar to Noir de Noir as well. However, it's not identical, so please make sure you're aware of that. But if you do get your hands on the intense version, from what I've read online, it's very similar, and this is just an amazing scent. Even if you're not looking for an alternative to Noir de Noir, if you are a woman or even a man who doesn't mind wearing something that comes off a little bit floral, I think this is a great scent. Now, this is not the scent that I was talking about when I said I believe I found an alternative to Noir de Noir. The scent that I'm talking about is one called Club de Nuit, and it's by a company called Armaf. When you look online, they have so many of the same ingredients. You have rose, you have patchouli, you have saffron, you have oud, you have vanilla, some spices, and you can find it online. I think it's in the $50 range, and a lot of people compare it to Noir de Noir. So I'm going to leave a link for that in the description section below. If you would like to conduct your own research, definitely feel free to. And I'm guessing it smells very similar to Noir de Noir in order to encourage and urge people to make those comparisons. Now, the last one, this happens to be many people's favorite in the Tom Ford line, and this is Tobacco Vanille. Now, is there an alternative for Tobacco Vanille? There is one from the house of Phaedon called Tabac Rouge, and Tabac Rouge is very similar to Tobacco Vanille, with the exception that it has more of a honeyed emphasis, whereas this has more of a spicy vanilla. Well, there is a comparison that has been made in the community, and a lot of people say that this fragrance by L'Occitane, called Eau de Baux, smells very similar to Tobacco Vanille. And I have to agree with that. This gives you a really nice spicy vanilla that's rather similar to the one that you would find in Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. But I'm going to take it a step further. There's another fragrance that I have in my collection that if you layer with Eau de Baux by L'Occitane, you can get much closer results, a much closer smell to Tobacco Vanille, but it also fulfills that pivotal scent that makes Tobacco Vanille what it is. This one is from the house of Demeter, and this is a very inexpensive fragrance, and it's called Pipe Tobacco. Now, this fragrance gives you a very dark, rich, moist, cherry-like tobacco note. Very authentic indeed. If you take this scent and you layer it with Eau de Baux by L'Occitane, you can surely fool a lot of people into thinking that you're wearing Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. I have personally worn this blend several times. I had people smell it and they said it smelled, not only did they say it smelled similar to Tobacco Vanille, but some people absolutely love the smell. They love the combination, and Demeter fragrances are so good for layering. So please make sure, if you do already have this one, you like wearing it as an alternative to Tobacco Vanille, pick this one up as well. Try layering it a few times. I think you'll be very impressed with the results. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. This has been the world's cheapest Tom Ford collection. Once again, you know, these are not, you know, replacements. These are just subtle variations if you're looking for a more inexpensive version of the private blends, which we all know are very pricey. So if you own or have tried any of these scents, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to rate and subscribe for future videos. So again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. This has been Steven with another video from Rattle Essence, and we'll see you soon.